start. Joshua Generals will sit this one out, and it will be Brent Brownlee in net this afternoon. 4 games played, 6.62 GA since coming over in that trade for Fred Brathwaite, along with the London Knights. And down to our right, Greg Dreveny, one of the league leaders in victories so far this season. He has, a total of 20 to his credit. That's an awful lot. 17 losses, 9 ties, 3.95 GA. Toronto native Dan Emerson will be this afternoon's referee. We get underway. The Generals in red, and the Bulls also in some red with the white shirts. And defending the goal to our right. And we are underway with the OHL game of the week from the Quinte Sports Center. Daniel Godbout on the right side for Scott Boston. And a bouncer down on Brownlee. Rebound in front will be scooped up. Off the boards is played by Rob Leach. The veteran feeding Hollis on the wing to Hoffman. Offside. Jan Benda, number 21, slowly coming back out of the Belleville zone.
Well, Jack, we see that both teams started their big lines and very good.
In the Bull zone, Darren McCarty, the Belleville captain. And that pass goes straight through center. Brent Gretzky will be down to nullify the icing call. Here's a centering pass, and McCallion will feed it through the slot all the way to the other side. Picked off by Rob Leesfeld in front. Lost it. Boston trying to pat it in toward the corner. And Hoffman will pick it up and comes back on the left wing. Matt Hoffman, overrange forward. He walks right in. Short side. Penalty made the save. Whistle went as the puck came loose. Hoffman made that look easy.
And we're seeing Hoffman center this year. You remember he was on the big line last year with Eric Lindros and Rob Pearson. He's moved over to center and drafted by Calgary. Certainly drives from the net there. And Dreveny seemed to lose where the puck was, but was able to cover up, and nothing resulted there.
Except for a holding penalty to Scott Boston, which will put the Generals on the power play just 53 seconds into the opening period. And the Duracell power play is underway. Ryan Grieve, captain of the Generals, hammered to the boards by Brown to Stefan Yelle in the left wing wearing number 11. Tips it back. Brown will shoot it right back in again. And J.P. Davis, who has missed most of the season due to an injury, just into his 6th game tonight. And he really steadies the Oshawa defense, which does not get the credit it deserves. Because, let's face it, the Generals offensively aren't the same team that they were a year ago. They probably will be more so once Lindros comes back from the Olympic team, but Rob Pearson is gone. Now Hoffman is back, so 2/3 of that big line can be reunited.
Original lineup that Oshawa likes to go with in a power play out there now. You remember Hoffman was involved in the penalty. They had to, of course, rest those players. This is the way the Generals like to approach a power play. The 5 guys that are on the ice right now.
And those 5 guys include Weaver, Hollis, and Hoffman up front. And back at the blue line will be Burgess, as well as number 5, Rob Leach. An original Marley. Not many of those left, are there? No. Back to the right point. Leach playing it in on the boards. Here is Weaver in his sophomore season, but a 19-year-old. Leach steals off left side. It will be shuttled out in front. Kevin Brown lost the puck, and a quick shot by Hollis wide of the net. Back to the point. Here's Leach on boards and out of play.
To go off, as the Generals had to do, replace those 5 players, so the unit really hasn't had time to establish.
Rick Marshall and Scott Hollis are locking sticks. That held us up for a moment. Now it's underway, and the Bulls win a key face-off. But the clear-out by Daniel Godbout hit somebody at the Belleville bench. And speaking of hits, Hollis and Marshall will go at each other. Well, that started before they dropped the puck. This is a pretty good bout.
Right.
First, Marshall can enjoy the fact that he has his helmet on. Both players went at it. Pretty good.
Well,
John Hollis.
looks like they're going to be escorted off the ice surface. They're out.
I'm not sure why. Let's find out. We have a microphone. We have a microphone at the penalty timekeeper's bench. Now, in Hollis's case, he may be heading out for repairs.
I think he's cut, Jack.
So a pair of 7s will be penalized here at 2:08. Now, these clubs haven't met in about a month, Jimmy, maybe even a little more than a month. They've been involved in very close games, but not much of this.
Okay. 5 each for fighting. All right. Now, there you get an idea of what kind of discussion goes on. We'll be back at the Quinte Sports Center right after this timeout as the OHL Game of the Week continues on the Global Television Network.
Oshawa Generals coach Rick Cornacchia, who spent many years as an assistant coach with Paul Terrio. And when Terrio left to go to the minor leagues, that gentleman took over as a Memorial Cup ring to his credit. Bulls still shorthanded for 40 seconds. The Fighting Majors were offsetting, of course, so they still play at 5-on-4. Trevor Burgess, native of Canada, from behind his net plate on the left wing. Generals coming away with a man advantage. The pass intended for Weaver too far. He is picked up in the corner by Davis. He'll slide a pass through for Weaver again. Number 20 for the Generals. In behind the net. It's banked back on the boards. Weaver giving chase, sends it to the line. Davis floats a pass off the far boards. Generals with 10 seconds left with this man advantage. Back to the blue line. Trevor Burgess over to Hoffman. Can't center it. It's off a skate. Into the corner. Weaver behind his red line. Handing off to the corner again. Bulls get their man back out of the box. Third even turn. Back to the blue line. Burgess a shot at a screen. It kicked off the skate. McCarty coming away in the right wing. To McCallion. Takes it up. Scores!
Well, what a shot that was, Jack, and that's exactly what I think the Bulls have to do early, is go to the net and test the youngster. We showed you his goals against average. He hasn't played a lot for the Generals, obviously, because Fountain does such a great job. And this is simply one great shot, far and high to the glove side. I mean, he just blows it right by him. You can see him get all the wood on that, and it's, what can I say, it's right in the top corner. Not too many goalies are going to stop that, but I think what they have to do is try and capitalize, try and get him down if that's possible.
Well, not only that, it's Belleville's first shot on net. You get a goal, especially on a netminder who hasn't played a lot in recent times, and you can really shake his confidence. As the Bulls no sooner kill off a penalty, they come back and score at 3:06, and Paul McCallion's 5th goal of the season. Bulls are back in their own zone. And out at center ice in the boisterous City Sports Center crowd, which will number about 28 or 2,900 here this afternoon. Into the left wing corner, Oshawa zone. And puck is loose. Donahue knocks it free. Comes in behind the net. Hurley was held up. And on the other side will be number 26, Mark Beasley. Pinned to the boards by Darren Hurley.
Oh,
and a face-off coming up, and we might get some more. There does seem to be some bad blood here, doesn't there?
Yeah, it looks like there's some tension out in the ice, and we'll see what happens out of this. As we take a timeout, the OHL Game of the Week will continue right after this break.
Welcome back to Belleville. Prior to today's game, Jake Grimes of the Bulls was presented with his Transamerica Light Plus Minus Award by Alexander Stephen of the Alexander Stephen Agency. He won Belleville's Transamerica Light's second segment with a +9, repeating his first segment win. And he gets a plaque, $50. Nice award, Transamerica Light.
All right, let's go with that scoring play again. It was McCallion from McCarty and number 21, Scott Boston. McCallion getting an opportunity to play due to injury, and who knows? He could be one of our Molson Cup 3 stars at game's end, the number 1 star to receive a Brute Sports bag.
Well, McCallion taking time in the first line with the injury to Tony Cimolero, and he is out with a broken collarbone. Part of the most productive line in the OHL up to the point of his injury. In that, he was with Brent Gretzky and Darren McCarty. Then the injury came, so McCallion just working his way in on that line.
We saw earlier some of the signs. There we go. McCarty, Gretzky, Global, Reason to Believe. Boy, it sounds like my scriptwriter took the day off. Banner and noise day. We've seen a lot of banners, and likely if the Bulls score again, we're going to hear some noise. And the Bulls stuck in the wall over there. It's going to act up as well.
I think your scriptwriter took yesterday off. I caught Sportsline.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Up into the crowd. 1-0. Belleville in the lead. Scott Boston, the league's leading offensive defenseman with 72 points. And over the line, Darren Hurley stick handles his way in. His shot is blocked, and LaFrance is ping-ponged off of number 8, Sean Brown. And now the Generals get out with it. LaFrance is demolished on the boards by Boston. Cleared around on the near side. Frank Fraser out to center ice, handing off, and Donahue will shoot it down, and the Bulls will change on the go. During the 5-minute mark of the opening period. Long lead pass intercepted at center. Here comes Stan Preston, but he ran into the linesman. Going after the puck. The Bulls scored 2 16-year-olds, minor midgets on their defense. Danny Preston is one, and Daniel Godbout, number 4, he is the other. We played 4:59 of the opening period. Belleville leads the Generals 1-0 on the OHL Game of the Week on the Global Television Network.
I'll tell you, Jack, there's not only a good crowd of fans here today, but if you were walking around the building, and I know you saw some of these people, a lot of scouts. We saw earlier prior to game time, Charlie Hodge, Marcel Pronovo. I saw just before we went on the air, Paul Holmgren and Jerry Melnick, and there are a few others that are scattered around the building today, so this game's drawing quite a bit of interest. Let's go over our Gillette out-of-town scoreboard from last night. Peterborough, 5-4 over Kingston. Kitchener, 3-2 over Guelph. Corbin with the winner there. Windsor 3, London 3. The Knights are undefeated in 12. Ottawa 5-2 over Oshawa. 6th straight win for the Killers crew. Cornwall and the Sioux tied at 4. North Bay and Sudbury tied at 5. Bill Lang with 28 seconds left tied it up for North Bay.
Ryan Kilray has his Ottawa 67s playing very well. And they will be in Kingston tonight. Down the ice it goes. We played 5.5 into the opening period. And the Generals, Trevor Burgess, spun around in the play. Here's a chance. Malonze in front. Can't get the puck. Now it comes to him and rolls past. On the boards, cutting off Rob Least. Still deep in the Oshawa zone. And Burgess, number 3 for the Generals. Threads a pass behind the net up on the boards and tipped away by Jason Campo. And at center, Scott Boston. Veteran will be intercepted at center. Over the line goes Least. Here's a shot off the pad of Brevity, and then he covers up to his right. By the way, we have a note from Greg, who would like to save himself a nickel and a long-distance call. He'd like to wish his sister-in-law Patty in Port Lambton.
No, Jack, we don't do that type of thing.
Okay, forget I said anything. 1-0. Bulls are leading. These teams have been so close this season that getting an early advantage is important for whoever, because in Belleville's case particularly, when they've lost 3 one-goal games to the Generals, including once in overtime here, they want to get the upper hand. Here's a shot by Weaver in the high slot, and the Tupperville native will make the stop. Greg Brevity out at center, Darren McCarty. In the last 2 losses to the Generals, Belleville have not held a lead of any kind. They've been down by a goal, it seems, through the entire game. They come back and tie, but couldn't get in front. They lead 1-0 here. McCarty can't hang on to that pass out in front. B.J. McPherson, number 18 for the Generals, plays it ahead, and then gets it back, and is turned upside down, and a nice hip check by Brent Gretzky. Scott Boston. He will log about 45 minutes in this game this afternoon. As the Bulls go with a rather young defense, they have 1 overage on their blue line, 3 18-year-olds, and then a couple of youngsters. Here is Grieve at center. Almost lost the puck to Grimes. And then he's going to be heading off for a penalty. He got the elbow on Grimes, and a holding call it is against Ryan Grieve.
See, the Bulls are able to, they have a slight advantage. I'm not going to say anybody's got an advantage over the other team at this point, but they are able to force the Generals, and that was a good example of that, where they're able to force a penalty, and if they can capitalize, the message is sent.
Double power play, not bad this year, 25.3%. They scored 60 times, and here's the penalty as Grieve gets the arm on Jake Grimes. And Jake will take a ride on his back, and the Bulls will take a ride to the power play. And Grimes will remain out. He will play between Shane Antoski and Kevin Brown. And back at the blue line, Scott Boston is paired off with Dan Preston. 7:13, the time of the holding penalty in Belleville's first power play of the afternoon. Grimes wins the draw. Back to Boston it goes. Ben out in front. Grimes trying to get a pass over. It's blocked, and the Generals will get rid of it. And this gives us a chance to set up their penalty-killing unit. As Hoffman is out along with Least and Burgess, and there was just a substitution at the bench. Out comes number 11, Stefan Yele. Grimes in the left wing for Belleville. And over the line, knocked off the puck, picked up by Brown. Brown will try and center. Grimes stop. Brown scores!
Well, there was no mystery about that, Jack. Simply a play where Grimes is able to turn around, fire it at the net. Higgins Brownlee going down. And it's a play where the Bulls are able to capitalize on, I'm going to say, the big ice surface, because they can move that puck around and spread out the box the Generals are trying to set up, but really don't get an opportunity to. And you can see right there, it goes right underneath Brownlee.
Well, Brown was able to get away from the check of Trevor Burgess. Now, Burgess will have him and then loses him. And Brown walks right in, and through the 5-hole it goes. Kevin Brown in his rookie season, Belleville's first-round draft pick, gets his 19th goal. It's on the power play. And
we've got a goaltending change, Jack. Brownlee is going to get out, and it'll be young Shepard.
Ken Shepard, who plays for the Ajax Axemen Junior B. quite a spot for the youngster because all of a sudden you get Mike Fountain going down with an injury to his ankle. They are expecting him back sometime in the next week, but he is a scratch for the East-West All-Star game on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
And down to Brent Brownlee, and I would not be at all surprised if you see Brownlee come back in the game. They just want to get him settled down. He was used to carrying the load in London. He played a lot of games. He played 36 games in London. He has only played in 4 games since that trade. And so it hasn't been a lot of work. And in all fairness to Brent Brownlee, of course, you'd like to get as much work as you possibly can. So he will be replaced by Ken Shepard, and this youngster will be in there for the Generals. 2-0, the Bulls are leading from the Quincy Sports Center, the OHL Game of the Week.
Scoring plate comes your way at 7:41, and it goes to Kevin Brown, assisted by number 16, Jake Grimes. And I got to point out, both these goals are at very opportune time. You see Brownlee cooling off there, but these come at very opportune times. One's right after a penalty kill. One's in a power play that sends the message, if you're going to try and foul us, you're going to pay the price.
Kevin Brown out at center ice. Bulls with a 2-0 lead. They've only had 3 shots on goal. Rick Marshall playing ahead, intercepted by Hoffman, steps in, he's on his backhand, and he missed the net. And the rebound, finding Antoski. Outlet pass for Brown, 1-on-2, and predictably, he lost it coming across the line, finding his way into the corner against Burgess, who makes the play around the boards, and Hoffman with a straight pass. And this could be icing, no, it's waved off. Rick Marshall behind his net. Pumps it off the boards, intercepted, Hoffman will be tied up by Antoski. Good job by the winger. And he'll feed it out at center. And here is Brown stick handling his way. Knocked down by Rob Leaf, who says, here, take that.
That'll stop him.
Work there.
Little face flash.
Line change for the Bulls, but the Generals coming out of their zone. Burgess off the skate of Fraser. Hands back. Darren Hurley, and the sophomore shot will be deflected way up into the balcony at the north end of the rink. And we have played 8 minutes and 46 seconds of this opening period. Goals by McCallion and Brown, and the Bulls lead 2-0. And Ken Shepard, as we had predicted,
yes,
will
very
be
good
up
call
there for just a moment or two. Mr. Brownlee is back in the net.
And that's the proper thing to do. You know, just let him cool out. He got beat on the first couple of shots he saved, and now he's time to collect his thoughts. Let's look at that face wash again. This will stop anybody. I mean, that could be the Golden Jet coming in. No, I'm sorry. The Golden Jet would get around that. But anybody else would fall down or just back off.
The Golden Jet would reach behind, let you have it in the face as he was blowing by.
That's right. He'd give you a windburn on the way by.
Here is Weaver, way on the left wing, and he is cut off by Donahue. Loose puck in the Belleville zone. Frank Bailey plays it off the boards. Bouncing puck. Fraser reaching for it. Caught up in the skates of Spiro. And he'll feed Yele, who in turn gets Weaver. Hand off at the line. Called on the offside. Seems that at
the end of this month in Guelph, when North Bay is there, we'll see Drake Farahowski among others. And Bert Templeton tells me he has improved. Now, I don't know how this guy can improve. He's a heck of a hockey player, but he's having a much better season. Leaf fans will be happy to hear about that.
I think the leadership aspect of his game is more evident.
That's right, and Hatcher's gone, so there's some room for him to grow.
You betcha. Anchoring an outstanding defense. Here's the shot right on by Campo. And he got all of that. Levity came out and cut down the angle.
I tell you, Jack, we've seen probably 5 times in the first 10 minutes of this period where the Bulls have turned that puck over in their own zone, and I think it's only a question of time before the Generals can make them pay for that.
It's been a problem for Belleville this season, Jimmy, and as I talked about earlier, they have a very young defense, and they are prone to that. Greg Dreveny, with his 3.91 goals against average, handles probably 40 shots on an average night. He has done an outstanding job for the Bulls. He's had to bail them out on many an instance, just like you just saw. It's cleared down the ice. J.P. Davis will go after a rolling puck. Can't get it to sit down. He's intercepted on the boards by Donahue. Been in behind the net. Hurley out in front of Fraser. Back to the line, and Weaver. I think that's easily getting it ahead, and the shot by Campbell rolls off the glass. Gravity does not have it, by the way. However, the whistle did go.
What a dangerous play that was. We talk about the ice surface here as they have some sort of a team get-together in the corner, and we're going to find out a bit more about this Olympic-sized ice surface in our first intermission, and a feature you prepared for us yesterday.
Watch this shot by Jason Campo, and and over top of the net, but it came out in front. Now, you notice how far out Dreveny is.
Yeah.
He's trying to play it off the wall like an outfielder. He doesn't have it.
No.
It slid out of the picture to your right.
Could have suffered a tailbone injury on that one. And you're right, he played it the way he should have.
Chance right on. Rebound in front. And Boston tips it out of danger into the corner. He's erased on the boards by Sean Brown. We have two Browns in the lineup this afternoon, one to each team. Number 8 for the Generals, Sean Brown, an Oshawa native who came over from Guelph, and Kevin Brown, who is Belleville's first-round draft pick and one of the 2 goals scored courtesy of Mr. Brown this afternoon. And that came on the power play, and there is Oshawa's first-round pick.
Right.
Jason Arnott played for the Lindsay Junior Bees last year. Comes from Osega Beach. Nice spot to be in the summer. We weren't far from there last week. Back at the right point for Wade Simpson. Knocked by Hammond down the ice. And giving chase will be Kevin Spiro, number 6. 2-0. Bulls in the lead. Spiro to an open wing. Boston waits for it at the point. Here's his shot. Deflected out in front. Oh, pitched in behind. And Brownlee got the skate on it to steer it out of the crease. Generals coming away with Arnott. Lead pass too far for Brown. Injured way to Boston in the corner. Boston lays it back for number 14. That's Dominic Gallange. It's center to Doug Dowell. And he is tackled on the play by Jan Benda, number 21. Puck loose at the Oshawa bench. Here's the play to Benda. Trying to make his move to the net. Centering pass off a stick. Gallange can't get it. Picked up by Benda. In there. Hoffman is shot right on. Rebound. Scores. Scott Hollis.
Well, you see the Generals' big line putting all kinds of heat on that young Belleville defense, and they cash in quite easily. Hollis gets the goal there as he was able to finish off rather nicely. There you see where the trouble develops. And we were talking about this earlier, only a matter of time before something was going to go. And there's the original stop on Hoffman. And they work it out, and Hollis just allowed to walk right in as that big line for Oshawa pays off.
Well, you pointed out a few moments ago, the Bulls were turning the puck over way too often in their own zone. And the Generals, Scott Hollis, with his 33rd of the season at 11:15, and that takes some of the pressure off after Belleville got off to a good start. Gretzky beating it out in front. Oh, through the crease, backhand, he scores! And McCallion has his second of the game. What a goal!
And, you know, I don't want to keep going over this, but Belleville has excellent timing this afternoon. They get the goal after a penalty kill. They get the goal in a power play. Now they score seconds after Oshawa gets right back into the game.
It's the way he scores it. McCallion is stopped the first time, and it's, oh, there's the puck. Thank you very much. And tips it in on the short side. It is 3-1 Belleville.
I think you got to chalk that goal up to some nice hustle. Brownlee, a couple of minutes ago, had made 2 nice skate saves to regain his confidence, and I don't think you could fault him here. This is a team goal.
Could be a Longine Whitnauer play of the game as Ephraim Simbliss Jr. does his thing out in the stands.
Well, the FBI will be interested in that one.
They're getting too involved in hockey as it is.
Yes, guy.
Yes. In the corner, and the level of play here is really picked up as we get a face-off coming up. The last scoring play, McCallion from Gretzky and Marshall. Bulls leading 3-1 with 8:08 left in the opening period. This is the OHL Game of the Week. Jack Miller with Jim Caddy at Belleville's 20 Sports Center. Big crowd on hand. And as Greg Dreveny would see it, so do you. The face-off coming up to his right.
Should point out, Jack, that Ralphie, not with us obviously this week, will return next week.
Obviously not with us?
Obviously
not here?
Thank you, Jack.
On the far boards, Aaron McCarty. Belleville captain has been named an assistant captain to the Eastern All-Star team. They will play in Saskatoon on Tuesday night. Coming away center wearing number 19. Veteran to the line, trying to stick his way through. The defense is upended. Penalty to the Generals. A hooking call, I believe, and that's exactly what it will be. And Emerson will send the Generals to the box again.
I was just going to say, Jack, if the Generals can calm down and start chipping away, and you'll see that this is not how you calm down by drawing a penalty, they could get back in this game because of the problems Belleville is having. Now, he didn't embellish that. I mean, he just got tripped. the Belleville problems in their own defensive zone could, of course, contribute to that Oshawa offense, and they can even it out. But when you start doing this, you just give the Bulls more energy and more fuel for the fire, as they say in the cliche business. Davis has gone for 2 minutes for Hookie.
Actually, from that replay, it looked like it was Grieve, but nonetheless.
One of the generals.
A general, it's J.P. Davis off for Hooking. Bulls 1 for 1 on the power play, leading 3-1 here. Gretzky back in the middle. McCallion a shot, and it is blocked back to Grimes towards the point. Shot deflected right on. Brownlee makes the stop with Brent Gretzky standing off to the side of the crease.
Just watching Brownlee in that series seemed to have trouble figuring out where he was in the crease. I noticed he looked right down at his skates to make sure he had the angle cut properly. So maybe he's just not getting acclimatized to that crease. Oh, there he is. Larry Mavety. You can't come to Belleville without Mav in the dock. This is a great team. We're glad they're back together again. And when you walk in the building, hey, Patty, how are you? And a few other things that we can't say on the air.
Words to that effect. Last act in Belleville since day one.
Yes, sir.
Robert Bond, Larry Mavety has been here for 9 of the team's 11 seasons, a 2-year hiatus in Kingston. Here's Grimes, whose shot kicked out. Doubles power play with Grimes at the point along with Scott Boston, and it will be his job to go and get it. Rest of the power play with McCallion, Gretzky, and McCarty up front. Grimes is a forward, however, he has a good shot. So does Hoffman, deflected right on. Scott Hollis almost had a short-handed goal, and Greg Dreveny had to reverse his stride in a hurry in order to come up with that.
So a good example of a goalie's nightmare in this one is the puck takes off, shot by Hoffman, and it goes off a stick and maybe a skate as well if Hollis would have to stick on it and really cause Dreveny to reassess his situation. Getting back to Matt, I didn't see his cowboy boot store, but I hear it's under construction.
He thought he might just as well open his own. It would be cheaper. He's making everybody else in the business rich. He does have an assortment of cowboy boots. Scott Boston away with 1:13 left in the power play for the Bulls. We just saw a moment ago, don't take the Generals lightly because they scored 11 shorthanded goals this year, led by Scott Hollis with 4, and Matt Hoffman has 3. In the corner for Brent Gretzky. Pass high slot, Boston a drive, missed the net. Gretzky off the rebound, center the game, and there was number 4 for the Generals, that's Wade Simpson. And the 6'3" defenseman will clear it down the ice, and Oshawa will change penalty killers. 40 seconds left in their assignment. Fraser ahead to Gretzky. Tries to time a pass, denied. Floats one over right side. Boston moving in. Deflected. Just beyond the post.
Break, the light went on.
It did, but it certainly missed, and not by much. Generals will clear it out. And Craig Fraser, number 8. President of Ottawa. Bulls with only 8 seconds left to work on this power play, and they're stuck deep in their own end. Frank Bailey is tied up by McPherson. Boston behind his net. Generals are back to full strength. Fraser with a long lead pass will dump it in, and the Bulls start to change in behind them. Grieve on the boards. 5.5 minutes left in the opening period. Burgess along with Davis. 2 defensemen rolled out in front, kicked away by Dreveny. Big Mark Beasley from Toronto, 223 pounds, 6'4". Obviously an imposing figure.
Oh, we're not going to a buffet with him. Let's put it that way.
Well, make sure he's behind you in line.
Hey, that was a big penalty kill for the Generals. I think they calmed things down, and if they can escape this period with the score the way it is, or maybe get another one, they're a happy crew. Find out there are 9 new faces on this roster, and of course the big guy, the Big E, with the Olympic team, and Rick Kornacki says he will be back with the Generals after the Olympics, barring any kind of transaction.
I don't see how he can play in the NHL barring any kind of a transaction.
Oh, where there's a will, there's a way, Jack.
Where there are bucks, there is a way. Is that what you're saying?
I said where there's a will, there's a way. Let's roll the tape back in, please. Where there's a will, there's a way, Jack.
Generals on the break. And out in front, right on. Close shot, and kicked away by Dreveny. The Generals came very close to getting back to within 1. Brown bumping off Benda, picked up by Hollis, cut off by Brown, and both go down in the corner. Benda, number 21. And a puck is loose. Hollis with it. Handing off to Matt Hoffman. To the point for Davis. He's lost his helmet. J.P. Davis. He is spun around by Rob Kingan. It ends up in the corner. And that draws a crowd. And so far, no play. Emerson lets them work it loose. Davis feeding it in. Benda can't make a play. And Toski will get rid of it on the backhand. And 3:30 left in the opening period. Belleville 3, Oshawa 1. Here's Brown trying to center. A good job by Brian Grieve. Penalty is coming up to Kevin Brown as Grieve is dumped to the ice. A hooking call as the Generals go to their second power play of the game. With 3:24 left in the first period, Belleville 3, Oshawa 1. And you're watching the OHL Game of the Week on Global. Face-off is outside of the Oshawa blue line. And teams are just getting ready to get underway here. Number 11. Yelling on the left side. Passing it out in front. And they score. And it's waved off. I think a high stick. Yep.
That is the call. We're going to see this on the replay, but it appeared when it happened that there was something wrong with the play, that it was a high stick. And, of course, the Belleville faithful are pretty happy about that. Let's hear the referee.
No ball. Puck was high sticked into the net.
Oh, very nice features. No question about that one. And Emerson clarified that. Let's take a look at it again. Maybe the NHL should steal this idea. Let's see the play here as the puck goes up high. Definitely a high stick.
Definitely. You can see Dreveny alone arching back, trying to pick it out of the air. And another angle on it. Everybody converged on the Belleville net right there. And it was knocked down into the net by Mark Beasley. And they will bring the face-off all the way down into the Oshawa zone.
Very good call. No argument on the play. We heard the call at ringside, which I really like that feature. I'd like to see that on a regular basis. He said, nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Folks in Peterborough can look for it next week, I think.
Phillips here.
Trevor Burgess was a year late getting into the OHL. He's 19, but in his second season. And he has really improved. Probably last year, one of Oshawa's most improved players as the season went along. And he's out there on the power play along with Rob Least, number 5. And the Generals have the unit out there that carries most of the power play weight, including Weaver, Hoffman, and Hollis. Accepted by Beasley. 18 seconds left in the power play. A chance for Bailey. And he'll send Oshawa deep. Burgess, Grimes steals it. Works in on a sharp angle. They came to the side of the net. Brownlee has his skate jammed to the post. And we will get a face-off as the Bulls put on pressure while they fill out the power play of the Oshawa Generals. Jake Grimes, who has been a big part of Belleville's offense this season, and among the league leaders in scoring this year. Grimes in his third season with 87 points coming in. Last moment. 1 minute left in the opening period. Bulls will clear it out. Davis will go and get it. And the veteran plays it off the boards for number 11, Stefan Yelly. There's a shot right on. Donahue is stopped by Brent Brownlee, who gave up 2 goals on the first 3 shots administered by Belleville, but he has certainly settled down since. Only 1 on the next day. We take another look at pressure late in this period. And Mark Donahue gets his shot kicked out, and Brent Brownlee luckily is able to keep the rebound within his grasp. As you look at the time left in the first period, that's 12.4 seconds. As that is standard now in the NHL. That's a new time clock here in Belleville, and that too registers tenths of seconds in the final minute of each period. Bulls lead 3-1. Face-off will be to the left of Brent Brownlee. Won by Oshawa, a key face-off won by the Generals in the late stage of the period. Hagan plays it in, delayed offside, least for Burgess, and he'll just play it off the boards, which will bring an end to the first period of play. A period in which the Belleville Bulls jumped out to a very quick lead, and just as the Generals got back into it with a goal at 11:15, that was quickly erased 17 seconds later. And because of that, the Bulls enjoy a 3-1 advantage on the Oshawa Generals through the first 20 minutes of play. At the score, the Belleville Bulls 3, the Oshawa Generals 1. You're watching the OHL Game of the Week on the Global Television Network. Ontario Hockey League teams that come to Belleville's Quinte Sports Centre have to contend with something a little bit different than they do in any other rink in the OHL. Basically, it's width, lots of width. This is an international ice surface, or Olympic-size ice, if you will. That means 200 feet long, which is basically what most rinks are. The difference is in the width, 100 feet from boards to boards, and that's about 15 feet more than the average rink, and that can pose some problems. Does the extra width in this ice surface pose much of a problem for goaltenders?
I think it does when you first come into the arena. It's about an extra 15 feet in width here. But for our goaltenders now, they do a lot of work on their angles and practice to get used to the arena. But we find when opposing teams' goaltenders come in here for the first time, sometimes they have a tendency to let in a soft goal from the side early.
Now, what would a standard drill be for a goaltender?
We do one drill where our goaltenders will start from the center of the net. We try to take all our angles off the post, which means that every time when the goaltender is coming out towards his angle, he's in contact with the post. If it's to his stick side, he's using the top of his stick to touch the post. If the angle's on the glove side, he uses the glove in contact with the post. If they do that, we find when they go from arena to arena, the angles will always be on because beyond on target because the net is always 6 feet wide, and we find we've had good success by doing that.
Now, with a defenseman, of course, they have to cover that additional space. Do you find that that is a problem for the defenseman?
Well, I think in this arena, mobility is very important for our defense. They have to realize that there is a lot of room to the outside. If you do get caught down deep in the corners, it's a long skate back to the front of the net. But also we have to realize that half our games are played on the road in the smaller arenas. So we have to get a combination of guys that can play the physical game on the road, which is more grinding style, and guys that have the mobility to play in this arena.
Do you find it harder to play angles in this building than in any other?
Oh, you know, this rink has a bigger ice surface, and in my rookie year, I think I found it a little bit hard because coming into this ice surface, it was a little bit different than playing in Waterloo where there's such a small building, but in my second and this year, it's a little bit easier. I'm starting to get onto it, and it's working out good for me.
Do you ever get opposing goaltenders say, hey, how do you play it, or is there a trick to it, or is there something I should watch? Do they ask you for tips?
Not too often. Goaltenders in the league, we don't really get too much time to talk, you know. I get pretty big rivalries with any top goalies in the league, and you don't really want to go and ask somebody else for advice because then they think that, you're lower than they are, and so you just try and keep the competitiveness as high as possible.
When the Belleville Bulls sit down at the draft table, do you have to consider certain aspects of a player's game to be better before you take that player? In other words, obviously, if you're not a good skater, you wouldn't really fare that well in this ice surface.
Yeah, we certainly, the players that skate well are good with self. There's no question there. Some players are tailor-made to this game. But we have to have enough guys that are finesse players, and we have to have enough guys that are willing to play the price in the road game. And so we look at that, and we look at all aspects of the game in our rink and on the road and try to get a combination of the two.
And when you see other teams come in, do you find that conditioning pays a price in the third period because there is extra space?
Conditioning is really important here. It is a long rink. I know guys that have been traded here even when we skate our sideboard, it's a long haul for them. But we do a lot of work on our conditioning, and we feel that over the long course of the season, it will pay off for us.
Home ice, of course, is supposed to be an advantage, and to the Belleville Bulls, with this big ice surface, they played it very well over their 11 years in the Ontario Hockey League, to the point where they have a winning percentage at the Sports Centre of .670. And they're leading here again this afternoon, 3-1 after one period of play. When we come back, Jim Taddy joins us, and we'll look over first period highlights on the OHL.